Hey crew, it's Pitt and I am back with some more Esoterica. Today we are diving back into The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Mr. Manly Hall. We are up to 19, I think. We are reading aloud and discussing as we go along the various topics that are brought to light here. I have a little bit of wisdom in the esoteric and I am trying to convey it as plainly as possible as we discuss along. I am almost certainly going to step on some toes because these few chapters deal with Kabbalism and I do not buy into the control systems. And so, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if you get lost in the sauce and have no idea what I am talking about, there are various playlists linked up here that can give you a better understanding of me and where I stand on a whole lot of issues. With that being said, we are going to dive in and begin talking about the fundamentals of Kabbalistic Cosmogony. There is a potential that this will be a level of understanding video. If you do not know what that means, it is highly recommended that you go back and watch the rest of the playlist. But, short answer, you are responsible for the level of knowledge that you have. If you know something, you are responsible for it. The Kabbalists conceive of the supreme deity as an incomprehensible principle, to be discovered only through the process of eliminating, in order, all its cognizable attributes. That which remains, when every knowable thing has been removed, is Ein Sof, an eternal state of being. Although indefinable, the absolute permeates all space. Abstract to the degree of inconceivability, Ein Sof is the unconditioned state of all things. Substances, essences, and intelligences are manifested out of the inscrutability of Ein Sof. But the Absolute itself is without substance, essence, or intelligence. Ein Sof may be likened to a great field of rich earth out of which rises a myriad of plants, each different in color, formation, and fragrance, yet each with its roots in the same dark loam, which, however, is unlike any of the forms nurtured by it. The plants are universes, gods, and man, all nourished by Ein Sof and all within their source, with their source, in one definitionless essence. All with their spirits, souls, and bodies fashioned from this essence, and doomed, like the plant, to return to the black ground. Ein Sof, the only immortal, whence they came. And this is, in no uncertain terms, exactly against Judaism. Judaism personifies the deity. This is not. This is more aligned with where I am than with where the Jews or the Christians are. So if those particular things offend you that I have said that, you've got a lot of research to do. Here's my concept, right? This is how I identify it. God is. God is me, and God is you. And God is the space between me and you, and He is the space between the space between me and you. He is everything you can touch and everything that you cannot. There is nothing that is not Him. He encompasses everything, and He is the source of everything. He is not some sky daddy sitting on a throne waiting to return and judge you in fire. That is not what is happening. Will there be fire? Almost certainly. Will it be in divine judgment? Not really. Is it some machine set to eradicate us? Possibly. But it is not God waiting to judge you. That is not how it works. If you look back in the Old Testament, which I have done for you in an unconventional Bible study, you can find that out for yourself. All right. Ein Sof was referred to by the Kabbalists as the most ancient of all the ancients. I'm sorry, that looks like it's blowing out a little bit. I'm going to have to... It was always considered as sexless. Its symbol was a closed eye. While it may be truly said of Ein Sof that to define it is to defile it, the rabbis postulated certain theories regarding the manner in which Ein Sof projected creations out of itself, and they also assigned to this absolute not being certain symbols as being descriptive, at least, in part at least, of its powers. The nature of Ein Sof they symbolize by a circle, itself emblematic of eternity. This hypothetical circle encloses a dimensionless area of incomprehensible life, and the circular boundary of this life is abstract and measureless infinity. According to this concept, God is not only a center, but also area. Centralization is the first step towards limitation. Therefore, centers which form in the substances of Ein Sof are finite, because they are predestined to dissolution back into the cause of themselves. While Ein Sof itself is infinite because it is the ultimate condition of all things, the circular shape given to Ein Sof signifies the space. That space is hypothetically enclosed within a great crystal-like globe, outside of which there is nothing, not even a vacuum. Within this globe, symbolic of Ein Sof, creation and dissolution take place. Every element and principle that will ever be used in the eternities of cosmic birth, growth, and decay is within the transparent substances of this intangible sphere. It is the cosmic egg, which is not broken till the great day be with us, which is the end of the cycle of necessity when all things return to their ultimate cause. In the process of creation, the diffused life of Ein Sof retires from the circumference of the center of the circle and establishes a point, which is the first manifesting one, the primitive limitation of the all-pervading O. When the divine essence thus retires from the circular boundary to the center, it leaves behind the abyss, or, as the Kabbalists term it, the great privation. Thus, in Ein Sof, is established a twofold condition where previously had existed but one. The first condition is the central point, the primitive objectified radiance of the eternal subjectified life. About this radiance is darkness caused by the deprivation of the life which is drawn to the center to create the first point, or universal germ. The universal Ein Sof, therefore, no longer shines through space, but rather upon space from an established first point. Isaac Meyer describes the process as follows. The Ein Sof at first filling all, and then made an absolute concentration into itself, which produced the abyss, deep, or space. The Avir Kadman, or primitive air, the Azoth, but this is not considered in the Kabbalah as a perfect void or vacuum, a perfectly empty space, but is thought of as the waters or crystalline chaotic sea, in which was a certain degree of light inferior to that by which all the created worlds and hierarchies were made. See the Kabbalah. I'm having a rough day. It's high pollen count, high humidity. It's just pretty terrible air. In the secret teachings of the Kabbalah, it is taught that man's body is enveloped into an ovoid of bubble-like iridescence, which is called the auric egg. This is the causal sphere of man. It bears the same relationship to man's physical body that the globe of Ein Sof bears to its created universes. In fact, this auric egg is the Ein Sof sphere of eternity called man. In reality, therefore, the supreme consciousness of man is in this aura, which extends in all directions and completely encircles his lower bodies. As the consciousness in the cosmic egg is withdrawn into a central point, which is then called God, the Supreme One, so the consciousness of the auric egg man is concentrated, thereby causing the establishment of a point of consciousness called the ego. As the universes in nature are formed from powers latent in the cosmic egg, so everything used by man in all his incarnations throughout the kingdoms of nature is drawn from the latent powers within his auric egg. Man never passes from this egg. It remains even after death. His births, deaths, and rebirths all take place within it, and it cannot be broken until the lesser day be with us, when mankind, like the universe, is liberated from the wheel of necessity. We are going to pause here, and we're going to talk real quick about something, and I'm going to draw you a picture in order that you can follow along. Let me grab my marker here. All right, so you have the singular point, right? You can't hardly see that. Let me make that dot a little bit bigger so you can see it. All right, you see my single point, right? All right, from that single point, which is the eternal, you have this shape. Now, some people don't like this shape, and I don't really care. This shape signifies your aura. That's why I'm showing it to you. This singular point in the middle is eternity, and then there is another point that goes all the way around it, right? That is also the eternal. That point and this point make 8. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. That is 8 chakras. You have a base or a root. You have the sacral, the solar plexus. You have the heart is here. This is the throat. No, the throat is over here. The third eye. And then up here is the crown. And this circle that goes all the way around it, this circle is your divine aura. That is what they're talking about here with your auric egg. They are talking specifically about the aura that surrounds all of this, but there are 7 chakras that allow that 8th chakra to be fully functioning and fully empowered and fully able to do the things that you want it to do. I have in this playlist, Infinite Integrations over here, we talk about this and how you can manipulate the subtle field or the electromagnetic forces of creation that is the auras up and down your spine to do various things, including manifestation, by using the left-hand path, which is this, this, and this, in a jumper cable fashion, and you use the right-hand path to amplify those things. We will be talking more about that in another place, but that is, for now, a fairly good representation of what they are talking about here. I do not know that they had the full understanding of it. We're not done reading through here, but that part right there, the auric egg, that is the divine aura, the outside, when it begins at the end of your palms, when it is extended like this, right? If you extend them both out like that, it goes from your palm. Not from your fingers if it's pointed straight out, but from the palm, where wrist meets your hand. And it encompasses you. That's where it begins, and it can extend out from you in varying degrees depending on the health of your stack. Mine extends quite a long ways. I can't exactly measure it, but it is much greater than 30 or 40 feet. People, like, it is an influence. Okay, back to the text. The Kabbalistic system of worlds. On the accompanying circular chart, the concentric rings represents diagrammatically the 40 rates of vibration, called by the Kabbalist spheres, which emanate from Ein Sof. The circle, X1, is the outer boundary of space. It circumscribes the area of Ein Sof. The nature of Ein Sof itself is divided into 3 parts. Also, yeah, let's go ahead and put that up there too. This is 1, 3, 8, right? 1 is the divine, 3 is the Trinity, and 8 is this. All 8 of these. You take these 8, you combine them into the separate parts of the Trinity, the body, the soul, and the being, and it once again becomes that. The nature of Ein Sof is divided into 3 parts represented by the spaces respectively between X1 and X2, X2 and X3, X3 and A1 thus. X1 to X2, Ein, the vacuum of pure spirit. X2 to X3, Ein Sof, the limitless and boundless. X3 to A1, Ein Sof Or, the limitless light. It should be borne in mind that the beginning of the supreme substance, Ein, alone permeated the area of the circle. The inner rings had not yet come into manifestation. As the divine essence concentrated itself, the rings X2 and X3 became apprehensible. For Ein Sof is a limitation of Ein, and Ein Sof, or light, is still greater limitation. Thus, the nature of the Supreme One is considered to be threefold. And from this threefold nature, the powers and elements of creation were reflected into the abyss left by the motion of Ein Sof towards the center itself. The continual motion of Ein Sof towards the center of itself resulted in the establishment of the dot in the circle. The dot was called God, as being the supreme individualization of the universal essence. Concerning this, the Zohar says, "When the concealed of the concealed wished to reveal himself, he first made a single point. The infinite was entirely unknown and diffused no light before this luminous point violently broke through into vision. The name of this point is I Am, called by the Hebrews Ahai. The Kabbalists give many names to the dot. On this subject, Christian D. Ginsburg writes, in substance, the dot is called the first crown because it occupies the highest position. It is called the aged because it is the first emanation. It is called the primordial or smooth point. It is called the white head or long face, macroprosophus, and the inscrutable height because it controls and governs all the other emanations." All right, now, if you are referring to all the chakras as being a crown, then okay, that is the emanation point, and you can say first crown. But there is an actual crown chakra. It's on the top of your head. And so the dot would not be the first because the dot is the beginning. It is the start. And then you have, so it is the heart, actually, like, so. When the white shining point had appeared, it was called Kether, which means the crown, and out of it radiated 9 great globes, which arranged themselves in the form of a tree. These 9, together with the first crown, constituted the first system of Sephiroth. These 10 were the first limitation of 10 abstract points within the nature of Ein Sof itself. The power of Ein Sof did not descend into these globes, but rather was reflected upon them, as the light of the sun is reflected upon the earth and planets. These 10 globes were called the shining sapphires, and it is believed by many rabbins that the word sapphire is the basis of the word Sephira, the singular of Sephiroth. The great area which had been privated by the withdrawal of Ein Sof into the central point, Kether, is now filled by 4 concentric globes called worlds, or spheres, and the light of the 10 Sephiroth was reflected down through each of these in turn. This resulted in the establishment of 4 symbolical trees, each herein the reflections of the 10 Sephirithic globes. The 40 spheres of creation of Ein Sof are divided into 4 great world chains as follows. We'll get back to that in a second. We're going to pop up the Hebrew triad. It is not square in the circle, but triangulating the circle. Okay. The Kabbalists used the letter Shin to signify the trinity of the first 3 Sephiroth. The central circle, slightly above the other 2, is the first Sephira, Kether, the white head, the crown. The other 2 circles that represent Chokmah, the father, and Binah, the mother. From the union of the Divine Father and the Divine Mother are produced the worlds and the generations of living things. The 3 flame-like points of the letter W have long been used to conceal this creative triad of the Kabbalists. And there is, again, we have a trinity, right? We talk about it all the time. There is the body, which is the meat suit. There is the soul, which is the individualized piece of eternity that is you making the decisions. And then you have the being, which is you processing through time. It is the part that turns your oxygen into the life-sustaining force that it is. It takes your food and turns it into energy. It takes your blood and circulates it around when you aren't even paying attention. That is the being or the becoming. That is the 3. But it is also the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine. You have the grounding, receiving, nurturing, feminine energy of the lower half. You have the upper, destructive, creative, emanating force. That is the upper half. And then you have the heart, which binds the 2 together, which is the piece of the eternal, right? So you do have the Divine Mother, you do have the Divine Father, and then you do have you, right? Which is God's point in creation. Everybody, every single one of us is God's point in creation. All right, back to the text. A1 to A10, Adzaluth, the boundless world of divine names. B1 to B10, Bria, the archangelic world of creations. C1 to C10, Yetzirah, the hierarchical world of formations. D1 to D10, Asaya, the elemental world of substances. Each of these worlds has 10 powers or spheres, a parent globe, and 9 others, which conic out of its emanations, each globe born out of the one preceding. On the plane of Atziluth, A1 to A10, the highest and most divine of all created worlds, the unmanifested Ein Sof established his first point, or dot, in the divine sea, the 3 spheres of X. This dot, A1, contains all creation within it, but in this first divine and uncontaminated state, the dot, or first manifested, God was not considered as a personality by the Kabbalists, but rather as a divine establishment or foundation. It was called the first crown, and from it issued the other circles of the Adzaluthic world, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, and A10. In the 3 lower worlds, these circles are intelligences, planars, and elements. But in this first divine world, they are called the ring of sacred names. The first 10 great circles or globes of light, which were manifested out of Ein Sof, and the 10 names of God assigned to them by the Kabbalists are as follows. From Ein Sof came A1, the first crown, and the name of the first power of God was Ihaya, which means I am, that I am. From A1 came A2, the first wisdom, and the name of the second power of God was Jehovah, which means essence of being. From A2 came A3, the first understanding, and the name of the third power of God was Jehovah Elohim, which means God of gods. From A3 and A4, the first mercy, and the name of the fourth power of God was El, which means God the Creator. From A4 came A5, the first severity, and the name of the fifth power of God was Elohim Gibor, which means God the Potent. From A5 came A6, the first beauty, and the name of the sixth power of God was Elohavadoth, which means God the Strong. From A6 came A7, the first victory, and the name of the seventh power of God was Jehovah Tazboath, which means God of Hosts. From A7 came A8, the first glory, and the name of the eighth power of God was Elohim Tazboath, which means God of the Hosts. From A8 came A9, the first foundation, and the name of the ninth power of God was Shaddai El Chai, which means omnipotent. From A9 came A10, the first kingdom, and the name of the 10th power of God was Adonai Melech, which means God. From A10 came B1, the second crown, and the world of Bria was established. The 10 emanations from A1 to A10, inclusive, are called the foundations of all creations. The Kabbalists designate them the 10 roots of the tree of life. They are arranged in the form of a great human figure called Adam Kadmon, the man made from the fire mist, red dirt, the prototypic universal man. In the Atzaluthic world, the powers of God are most purely manifested. These 10 pure and perfect radiations do not descend into the lower worlds and take upon themselves forms, but are reflected upon the substances of the inferior spheres. From the first, or Atzaluthic world, they are reflected into the second, or Briatic world. As the reflection always lacks some of the brilliancy of their original image, so in the Briatic world, the 10 radiations lose part of their infinite power. A reflection is always like the thing reflected, but smaller and fainter. In the second world, B1 to B10, the order of the spheres is the name as in the Atzaluthic world, but the 10 circles of light are less brilliant and more tangible, and are here referred to as 10 great spirits, divine creatures who assist in the establishment of order and intelligence in the universe. As already noted, B1 is born out of A10 and is included within all the spheres superior to itself. Out of B1 are taken 9 globes, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, B7, B8, B9, B10, which constitute the world of Bria. These 10 subdivisions, however, are really the 10 absolutic powers, reflected in the substance of the Briatic world. B1 is the ruler of this world, for it contains all the other rings of its own world, and also the rings of the third and fourth worlds. C and D. In the world of Bria, the 10 spheres of light are called the archangels of Bria, and their order and powers are as follows. From A10 came B1, the second crown, and it is called Metatron, the angel of presence. From B1 came B2, the second wisdom, and it is called Raziel, the herald of deity, who revealed the mysteries of Kabbala to Adam. From B2 came B3, the second understanding. It is called Safkiel, the contemplation of God. From B3 came B4, the second mercy. It is called Sadikiel, the justice of God. From B4 came B5, the second severity. It is called Samiel, the severity of God. From B5 came B6, the second beauty. It is called Michael, like unto God. From B6 came B7, the second victory. It is called Haniel, the grace of God. From B7 came B8, the second glory. It is called Raphael, the divine physician. From B8 came B9, the second foundation. It is called Gabriel, the man of God. From B9 came B10, the second kingdom. It is called Sandalphon, the Messiah. From B10 came C1, the third crown. The world of Yetzirah was established. The 10 archangels of Bria are conceived to be 10 great spiritual beings whose duty is to manifest the 10 powers of the great name of God existent in the absolutic world, which surrounds and interpenetrates the entire world of creation. All things manifesting in the lower worlds exist first in the intangible rings of the upper spheres, so that creation is, in truth, the process of making tangible the intangible by extending the intangible into various vibratory rates. That's an interesting one. The 10 globes of Briatic power, while themselves reflections, are mirrored downward into the third or Yetziratic world, where, still more limited in their expression, they become the spiritual and invisible zodiac, which is behind the visible band of constellations. In this third world, the 10 globes of the original absolutic world are greatly limited and dimmed, but they are still infinitely powerful in comparison with the state of substance in which man dwells. In the third world, C1 to C10, the globes become hierarchies of celestial creatures, called the choirs of Yetzirah. Here, again, all are included within the ring C1. The power which controls the Yetziratic world, and which includes within itself and controls the entire world D. The order of the globes and the names of the hierarchies composing them are as follows. From B10 came C1, the third crown. The hierarchy is the cherubim, Chayouth HaKadosh, the holy animals. From C1 came C2, the third wisdom. The hierarchy is the cherubim, or Phanium, the wheels. From C2 came C3, the third understanding. The hierarchy is the thrones, Iralim, the mighty ones. From C3 came C4, the third mercy. The hierarchy is the dominations, Chashmalim, the brilliant ones. From C4 came C5, the third severity. The hierarchy is the powers, Seraphim, the flaming serpents. From C5 came C6, the third beauty. The hierarchy is the virtues, Melachim, the kings. From C6 came C7, the third victory. The hierarchy is the principalities, Elohim, the gods. From C7 came C8, the third glory. The hierarchy is the angels, Ben Elohim, the sons of God. From C8 came C9, the third foundation. The hierarchy is the angels, cherubim, the scat of the sons. I don't know if y'all know what scat is, but it is poop. From C9 came C10, the third kingdom. The hierarchy is humanity, the Ishim, the souls of just men. And from C10 came D1, the fourth crown, and the world of Asaya was established. From the Yetziratic world, the light of the 10 spheres is reflected into the world of Asia, the lowest of the fourth. The 10 globes of the original Atziluthic world here take upon themselves forms of physical matter, and the sidereal system is the result. The world of Asia, or the elemental world of substance, is the one into which humanity descended at the time of Adam's fall. The Garden of Eden is the 3 upper worlds, and for his sins man was forced into the sphere of substance and assumed coats of skin, bodies. All the spiritual forces of the upper worlds, A, B, and C, when they strike against the elements of the lower world, D, are distorted and perverted, resulting in the creation of hierarchies of demons to correspond with good spirits in each of the higher worlds. In all the ancient mysteries, matter was regarded as the source of all evil and spirit as the source of all good, for matter inhibits and limits, often so clogging the inner perceptions that man is unable to recognize his own divine potentialities. Since matter thus prevents humanity from claiming its birthright, it is called the adversary, the power of evil. The fourth world, D, is the world of solar systems. The plan of divine activity. Wow, that is a comprehensive plan. According to the Kabbalists, the life of the Supreme Creator permeates all substance, all space, and all time. But for diagrammatic purposes, the supreme all-inclusive life is limited by Circle 3, which may be called the boundary line of divine existence. The divine life permeating the areas bounded by Circle 3 is focused at point 1, which thus becomes the personification of the impersonal life, and it is termed the first crown. The creative forces pouring through point 1 came into manifestation as the objective universe in the intermediate space, Circle 2. I didn't finish this system. I thought it was done at solar systems. So the fourth world, D, is the world of solar systems, comprising not only the one of which the Earth is a part, but all solar systems in the universe. Opinions differ as to the arrangement of the globes of this last world, D1 to D10 inclusive. The ruler of the fourth world is D1, called by some the fiery heaven, by others the premium mobile, or the first motion. From this whirling fire emanates the material starry zodiac, D2, in contradistinction to the invisible spiritual zodiac of the Yetziratic world. From the zodiac, D2, are differentiated the spheres of the planets in concatenate order. The 10 spheres of the world of Asia are as follows. From C10 came D1, the fourth crown, Reshith Hagagalam, the premium mobile, the fiery mist, which is the beginning of the material universe, the becoming. From D1 came D2, the fourth wisdom, Mashloth, the zodiac, the firmament of fixed stars. From D2 came D3, the fourth understanding, Shabbatai, the sphere of Saturn. From D3 came D4, the fourth mercy, Desedek, the sphere of Jupiter. From D4 came D5, the fourth severity, Madim, the sphere of Mars. From D5 came D6, the fourth beauty, Shemesh, the sphere of the sun. From D6 came D7, the fourth victory, Noga, the sphere of Venus. From D7 came D8, the fourth glory, Kokab, the sphere of Mercury. From D8 came D9, the fourth foundation, Levana, the sphere of the moon. From D9 came D10, the fourth kingdom, Cholom Yosodoth, the sphere of the four elements. By inserting a sphere, which he calls the Empyrean, before the premium mobile, Kircher moves each of the other spheres down one, resulting in the elimination of the sphere of the elements and making D10 the sphere of the moon. It doesn't matter, it's not important. In the world of Asia are to be found the demons and tempters. These are likewise reflections of the 10 great globes of Atziluth. But because of the distortion of the images resulting from the base substances of the world of Asia, upon which they are reflected, they become evil creatures, called shells by the Kabbalists. There are 10 hierarchies of these demons to correlate with the 10 hierarchies of good spirits, composing the Yetziratic world. There are also 10 archdemons, corresponding to the 10 archangels of Bria. The black magicians use these inverted spirits in their efforts to attain their nefarious ends, but in time the demon destroys those who bind themselves to it. The 10 orders of demons and the 10 archdemons of the world of Asia are as follows. We're going to come back to that after the illustration. The Kabbalistic scheme of the 4 worlds. And here we have it in some detail, but it is again not correct, right? Like, if they're using 10 and not 8, they're doing it wrong. It just is. In the above chart, the dark line between x3 and x1 constitutes the boundary of the original dot, while the concentric circles within this heavier line symbolize the emanations and the worlds which came forth from the dot. As this dot contained within the outer rings x1, x2, and x3, and represents the first establishment of an individualized existence, so the lower universe, symbolized by the first 40 concentric circles within the dot, represents the lower creation evolved out of, and yet contained within, the nature of the first crown, which may be called God, within whom the divine powers, the celestial beings, the sidereal worlds, and man live and move and have their being. It is highly important that all the rings within A1 be considered as being enclosed by the primitive dot, which is itself encircled by the great ring X1, or the auric egg of Ein Sof. Each ring includes within its own nature all the rings within itself, and is included within the natures of all the rings outside of itself. Thus, A1, the primitive dot, controls and contains the 39 rings, which it encloses, all of these partaking of its nature in varying degrees according to their respective dignities. Consequently, the entire area from A1 to D10, inclusive, is the original dot, and the rings symbolize the divisions which took place within it, and at the emanations which poured out from it, after its establishment in the midst of the abstract nature of Ein Sof. The powers of the rings decrease towards the center of the diagrams, for power is measured by the number of things controlled, and each ring controls the rings within it, and is controlled by the rings outside of it. Thus, while A1 controls 39 rings beside itself, B1 controls only 29 rings beside its own. Therefore, A1 is more powerful than B1. As the greatest spiritual solidity, or permanence, is at the circumference, and the greatest material density, or impermanence, is at the center of the diagram, the rings, as they decrease in power, become more material and substantial until the center sphere, D10, symbolizes the actual chemical elements of the Earth. The rates of vibration are also lower as the rings approach the center. Thus, the vibration of A2 is lower than A1, but higher than A3, and so on in decreasing scale towards the center, A1 being the highest and D10 the lowest sphere of creation. While A1, the ruler of creation, controls the circles marked A, B, C, and D, it is less than the three rings of Ein Sof, X1, X2, and X3, and therefore bows before the throne of the ineffable Creator, from whose substances it was individualized. D1, the evil crown, the hierarchy is called Thomiel, the doubles of God. The two-headed, the archdemons are Satan and Moloch. From D1 came D2, the evil wisdom. The hierarchy is called Chiagadio. Those who obstruct the archdemon is Adam Belial, Adam. From D2 came D3, the evil understanding. The hierarchy is called Sathariel, the concealment of God. The archdemon is Lucifuge. From D3 came D4, the evil mercy. The hierarchy is called Gamchikoth, the disturber of things. The archdemon is Astaroth. From D4 came D5, the evil severity. The hierarchy is called Golab, incendiarism and burning. The archdemon is Asmodeus. From D5 came D6, the evil beauty. The hierarchy is called Togarini, the wranglers. The archdemon is Belphegor. From D6 came D7, the evil victory. The hierarchy is called Harab Sarap. The dispensing raven, the archdemon, is Baal Chanan. From D7 came D8, the evil glory. The hierarchy is called Samael, the embroiler. The archdemon is Adramelech. From D8 came D9, the evil foundation. The hierarchy is called Gamaliel, the obscene. The archdemon is Lilith. From D9 came D10, the evil kingdom. The hierarchy is called Nahemoth, the impure. The archdemon is Nahima. The Kabbalists declare that the worlds Intelligences and hierarchies were established according to the vision of Ezekiel. Really. By the man, I've got that. Y'all go look at that. By the man of Ezekiel's vision is symbolized the world of Atziluth by the throne, the world of Bria by the firmament, the world of Yetzirah, and the living creatures of the world as Asaya. These spheres are the wheels within wheels of the prophet. No. The Kabbalists next established a human figure in each of the four worlds. A1 was the head and A10 the feet of the man of Atziluth. B1 was the head and B10 the feet of the man of Bria. C1 was the head and C10 the feet of the man of Yetzirah. D1 was the head and D10 the feet of the man of Asaya. These four are called the world men. They are considered androgynous and are prototypes of humanity. The human body, like that of the universe, is considered to be a material expression of 10 globes or spheres of light. Therefore, man is called microcosm, the little world, built in the image of the great world, of which he is a part. The Kabbalists also established a mysterious universal man with his head at A1 and his feet at D10. This is probably the secret significance of the great figure of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. No. Go back and watch the Bible study. With its head in the world of Atziluth, its arms and hands in the world of Bria, and its generative system in the world of Yetzirah, and its legs and feet in the world of Asaya. This is the grand man of the Zohar, of whom Eliphas Levi writes. It is not less astonishing to observe at the beginning of the Zohar the profundity of its notions and the sublime simplicity of its images. It is said as follows. The science of equilibrium is the key of the occult science. Unbalanced forces perish in the void. So pass the kings of the outer world, the princes of the giants. They have fallen like trees without roots, and their place is found no more. Through the conflict of unbalanced forces, the devastated earth was void and formless, until the Spirit of God made for itself a place in heaven and reduced the mass of waters. All the aspirations of nature were directed then towards unity of form, towards the living synthesis. If equilibrated forces, the face of God, crowned with light, rose over the vast sea and was reflected in the waters thereof. His two eyes were manifested, radiating with splendor, darting two beams of light, which crossed with those of the reflection. The brow of God and his eyes formed a triangle in heaven, and its reflection formed a second triangle in the waters. So was revealed the number 6, being that of universal creation. The text, which would be unintelligible in a literal version, is translated here by way of interpretation. The author makes it plain that the human form which he ascribes to deity is only an image of his meaning, and that God is beyond expression by human thought or representation by any figure. Pascal said that God is a circle, of which the center is everywhere and the circumference nowhere. But how is one to imagine a circle apart from its circumference? The Zohar adapts the antithesis of this paradoxical image, and in respect of the circle of Pascal, would say rather that the circumference is everywhere. That's the same thing, while that which is nowhere is the center. That is literally the same thing, just termed differently. It is, however, to a balance and not to a circle that it compares the universal equilibrium of things. It affirms that equilibrium is everywhere, and also is the central point where the balance hangs in suspension. We find that the Zohar is thus more forcible and more profound than Pascal. The Zohar is a genesis of light, the Sefer Yetzirah is a ladder of truth. Therein are expounded the 32 absolute symbols of speech, being numbers and letters. Each letter produces a number, an idea, and a form, so that mathematics are applicable to forms and ideas, even as to numbers, in virtue of an exact proportion and a perfect correspondence. By the science of the Sefer Yetzirah, the human mind is rooted in truth and in reason. It accounts for all progress possible to intelligence by means of the evolution of numbers. Thus, does the Zohar represent absolute truth, while the Sefer Yetzirah furnishes the method of its acquisition, its discernment, and application. History of magic. By placing man himself at the points of D10, his true constitution is revealed. He exists upon 4 worlds, only one of which is visible, and it is then made evident that his parts and members upon the material plane are, by analogy, hierarchies and intelligences in the higher worlds. Here, again, the law of interpenetration is evidenced. Although within man is the entire universe, the 43 spheres, interpenetrating D10, he is ignorant of his existence because he cannot exercise control over that which is superior to or greater than himself. Nevertheless, all these higher spheres exercise control over him, as his functions and activities demonstrate. If they did not, he would be an inert mass of substance. Death is merely the result of deflecting of life impulses of the higher rings away from the lower body. The control of the transubstantial rings over their own material reflection is called life, and the spirit of man is, in reality, a name given to this great host of intelligences, which are focused upon substance through a point called the ego, established in the midst of themselves. X1 is the outside boundary of the human auric egg, and the entire diagram becomes a cross-section of the constitution of man, or a cross-section of the cosmic constitution, if correlated with the universe. By the secret culture of the Kabbalistic schools, man is taught how to climb the rings, unfold his consciousness, until at last he returns to Ein Sof. The process by which this is accomplished is called the 50 Gates of Light. Kircher, the Jewish Jesuit Kabbalist, declared that Moses passed through 49 of the gates, but that Christ alone passed through the 50th gate. There are not 50 gates to enlightenment. That is way too complicated, and you are reading way too much into it. Like, this whole thing has been man's rationalization. We'll get to that in a minute, but, no. By the 3rd edition of the Sefer Yetzirah, translated from the Hebrew by William Wynne Westcott, are appended the 50 gates of intelligence emanating from Bina, the 2nd Sephirah. The source of this information is Kircher's Oedipus Egypticus. The gates are divided into 6 orders, of which the first 4 have each 10 subdivisions, the 5th 9, and the 6th only 1. The first order of gates is termed elementary, and its divisions are as follows. Chaos Hyle in the first matter, that's number 1. 2. The formless, void, or lifeless. 3. The abyss. 4. The origin of the elements. 5. Earth, no sea germs. 6. Water. 7. Air. 8. Fire. 9. Differentiation of qualities. 10. Mixture and combination. The second order of gates is termed decad of evolution, and its division area as follows. 11. Minerals differentiate. 12. Vegetable principles appear. 13. Seeds germinate in moisture. 14. Herbs and trees. 15. Fruitification in vegetable life. 16. Origin of low forms of animal life. 17. Insects and reptiles appear. 18. Fishes, vertebrate life in the waters. 19. Birds, vertebrate life in the air. 20. Quadrupeds, vertebrate earth animals. The third order of gates is termed decad of humanity, and its divisions are as follows. 21. Appearance of man. 22. Material human body. 23. Human soul conferred. 24. Mystery of Adam and Eve. 25. Complete man as the microcosm. 26. Gift of 5 human faces acting exteriorly. 27. Gift of 5 powers of the soul. 28. Adam Kadmon, the heavenly man. 29. Angelic beings. 30. Man in the image of God. The fourth order of gates is termed World of Spheres, and its divisions are as follows. The heaven of the moon, the heaven of Mercury, that's 31, the heaven of the moon. 32, the heaven of Mercury. 33, the heaven of Venus. 34, the heaven of the sun. 35, the heaven of Mars. 36, the heaven of Jupiter. 37, the heaven of Saturn. 38, the firmament. 39, the premium mobile. And 40, the empyrean heaven. The fifth order of gates is termed the angelic world, and its divisions are as follows. 41 is Shem, sons of fire. 42, Orphanium, cherubim. 43, Aralim, thrones. 44, Kashmalim, dominions. 45, Seraphim, virtues. 46, Malachim, powers. 47, Elohim, principalities. 48, Ben Elohim, angels. 49, cherubim, angels, archangels. The order of the angels is a matter of controversy. We're going to talk about that. The arrangement above differing from the accepted in other sections of this volume. The rabbins disagree fundamentally as to the proper sequence of the angelic names. Of course they do. The sixth order is termed the archetype and consists of but one gate, 50, God, he whom no mortal eye hath seen. The 50th gate leads from creation into the creative principle, and he who passes through it returns into the unlimited and undifferentiated condition of all. The 50 gates reveal a certain evolutionary process, and it was declared by the rabbins that he who would attain to the highest degree of understanding must pass sequentially through all these orders of life, each of which constituted a gate in that spirit, passing from the lower to the higher, found in each more responsive organism new avenues of self-expression. Okay, so I disagree emphatically with most of this. And we're going to talk about why. Right? We just did this, and this is 8. We did 1 through 8, we did 8. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is God. It is the beginning and the end of the harmonic, right? The harmonic really ends here, and this is the beginning of the new one. But we have what I call the theory of spiritual evolution, which is this, right, in part. But this is an overcomplication of a really simple thing. The first state of existence is elemental. I had to spell it. Elemental, right? And the elemental state of being is just merely existing. It is one plane of existence. You are. You can't go up, you can't go down, you can't go to the side. The second is plants. And thus, you get to grow, right? You absorb the first into the second, and it becomes part of a greater part of life. The minerals that are in the earth are absorbed by the roots of the plant and become part of the plant, allowing it to grow into the second dimension, which is growth. It grows from in the ground to up, but it can't walk anywhere. The third is the lower animals. And what the lower animals do, this is the ones that can't think, right? This is the ones that don't have the capacity to be trained, the ones that don't plan for the future in any way, shape, or form. But they eat the plants. And the plants allow them to become part of the third plane of existence, right? You have up, and now you can move. You don't like it right here, you can go over there, but you're not really planning at all for the future, and you have no capacity for real thought. And then you get the upper animals. Now, the upper animals, for the most part, consume the lower animals. That's dogs. I don't have them back here, but cats. The animals that can be trained, right? Now, you can say a cat can't be trained, but they can. They're just really choosy about what they allow you to train them in. But these are the animals that can think. But they have no real concept of time. They may plan in so much as they will store up food for the winter. You see the hunting cats will take a corpse and drag it into a tree and save it for later. You don't see that with the lower animals. You see that with the upper ones. But that's the fourth state of existence, right? You can get up, you can move, and you can think a little bit. You can make decisions a little bit. You can be trained a little bit. You teach a dog to sit or move or grow and grab this specific item from over there. You can train these animals. The next state is us, right? Now, for a large part, we consume them, right? But this is us. We can plan. We can think. We have the concept of time. From here up, they don't have the concept of time, right? From here up. But from here down, not only is there the concept of time, there is a small grasp of it. Next up, we have the messengers. The messengers tell you things, but they don't really know the full plan. They are not quite there. And like everything from here down is pure speculation, right? All of it really is, but this, we can't prove that there are messengers. We can't prove any of those things. But I believe it. They believe it. Many people believe it. They just explain it wrong. This almost certainly eats our energy in one form or another. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but they are taking us into the next level in small part. This is probably the next stage of us in the next thing. If you are not meant to reincarnate here, you probably go on to this stage next. Again, that is pure speculation, but that is probably where it happens. And then you have the direct representatives of God here, right? They have the full comprehension of the plan, even if they don't tell you about it. This is the level of archangels. They are probably the direct result of this. And that leads back into the infinite and the source. That is going back to creation. This is the 7 forms of existence. You have the ability to have time and know what is coming as well as what's behind you. To make more plans. And then here you have full control of time, including the ability to go forward and backwards in it. That is me speculating. That is my conspiratorial mind. But in the same way that I have had other things revealed to me, I had this revealed to me too. Everything is base 8. We use 10 for math, but nothing like the consequential things are all base 8. There are fundamental things that will not work without 8. I'm not going to say all our consequential things are base 8 because base 10 is a thing too, but base 10 is really just an extrapolation past the 8. I'm not trying to argue about math in the way that Terrence Howard does, right? This is different degrees of separation there. You have 8 chakras. There are 8 fundamental parts of the planet. There are 8 fundamental parts of the atmosphere. 8, and you can go to the video, The Fundamental Harmonics of Life, and see what I'm talking about in a more real way, in a long form content. But 8 is the important thing. These 10 separated into 4 and 40 and 50, that is just getting too complicated. You don't need all of that. This 8 will get you this. All of this is contained within this 8. And it's not just this 8. This is also base, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown, and your divine aura. This is how you reach enlightenment. You start at your base and you start working on the things involved with your particular base. I have up here as well the MBTI parts and infinite integrations where I discuss this in more detail. Your base and my base do not necessarily have the same problems. We don't have the same issues to work through. I have problems with organization. You might have problems with communication. That is dependent on how you process information. That's an 8-step process too. There are 32, which is divisible by 8, different types who think in different ways. That's not to say that there are not more ways to think than 8, but they all boil down into basically these 8 types of thinking. It can help you in a very real way to understand the MBTI parts. My MBTI system that I use is completely different than any other one you will see. The letters are the same, but the meanings are different. Mine seems to work a little bit better, and I'm not saying that with hubris, right? I'm not trying to be egotistical about that. It is, again, something that was revealed to me. And that's where we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. We have 2 more days of Kabbalism coming up, and I am stepping on toes, and that is perfectly fine. I am here to throw wisdom at you, not to understand or not to toe the lines, right? Just because it's old doesn't mean it's correct. In many ways and in many forms, this type of thing is meant to hold you back. It is way too complicated for most people. They do not even understand what they are talking about in here. And so, hopefully, I brought a little bit of enlightenment, not too much confusion, to a series of somewhat complicated topics. There will be more of this coming. There will be more of this coming. This is part of what I am doing. Right? I'm working out the mechanics and how I precisely want to word it and all of those things to get this out into a presentation like this and give it to you freely so that you can grab the reins of responsibility for yourself, so that you can reach at least the level of enlightenment that I have. That is not to say that I am done being enlightened or learning things, but I do have a better grasp than most people, even the ones who are on here telling you that they know. If you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment. Let me know if you agree or disagree. If it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. And if you really like what I'm doing here, hit me with that super thanks, because I am not a communist. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Take. Peace.